He walked into the bakery, hungry, and was treated like trash. Everyone ignored him, everyone except her, a humble waitress with a heart bigger than the world. What she didn't know was that the homeless man was actually a millionaire, in disguise, and her kindness was about to change her life forever. You're listening to Triumph Tales. Let this story move you. The rain poured heavily onto the oil-stained sidewalk, mingling with the sound of hurried footsteps. Gabriel felt each drop like a reminder of the choice he had made. His worn-out jacket, bought for $5 at a corner thrift store, barely kept the chill at bay. But he needed this. He needed to disappear from the top for a while. To the world, Gabriel Montenegro had vanished. The brilliant investor who amassed billions before turning 35. The tech genius with a sharp mind and a cold heart for business. He had sold his shares, abandoned his glass penthouse in Manhattan, and traded it all for an old backpack, a phone with no internet, and a fake ID. No one knew. Not his friends, not the press. Just him and the private driver who had discreetly dropped him off at a bus station months ago. It was an experiment, or maybe an escape, or a desperate attempt to understand what he had lost in the midst of all that power. Sitting under an awning, leaning against the wall of a 24-hour diner, Gabriel watched people come and go. Tired families, loud laughing teens, couples arguing, in hushed tones. And then she appeared. Carrying a tray with 3 sodas and a plate of burgers, Clara approached, a young woman with a kind face and eyes marked by exhaustion and hope. Her uniform was clean but faded, the name embroidered on her left pocket. Clara was nearly worn out by time. Gabriel watched her closely. She smiled at the customers, but behind that smile was something deeper. A weight, a worry. He recognized that look. He'd seen it in the mirror years ago, back when his mom worked double shifts as a cleaner and still found time to help him with his homework. Clara went back inside, and minutes later, she came out the back door with a trash bag. After tossing it into the dumpster, she paused when she saw him sitting on the sidewalk. "Hey, you okay?" she asked, her voice soft, almost shy. Gabriel looked up, caught off guard. "Yeah, I'm good. Just waiting for the rain to let up." She hesitated, then pulled something from her pocket, a cookie wrapped in a napkin. "It's what's left of my snack. It's not much, but—" He took it, more touched than he expected. "Thanks, Clara," he said, reading the name on her uniform. "This means more than you know." She smiled, unaware that she had just changed his life. Clara woke up the next morning with the image of that man still lingering in her mind. Something in her had shifted. She couldn't quite put her finger on it. It felt like she had brushed up against an unfinished story, an open wound, and now she carried a piece of his pain with her. On her way to the bakery, she glanced at the street corners, almost instinctively looking for Gabriel without realizing it, but he wasn't there. During her shift, every ring of the doorbell sparked a quiet hope. Then late that morning he walked in. He looked cleaner, his hair combed, wearing simple clothes that were noticeably better than the day before. Clara also noticed he had shaved. He gave a shy smile, almost as if apologizing for existing. "Morning," he said, not expecting her to serve him. "I wanted to thank you for yesterday. It meant a lot to me." Clara smiled back warmly. "Morning, Gabriel. Good to see you. How about some coffee?" He hesitated but nodded slightly. "On me today," she said. "Consider it a thanks for coming back." She stepped away to prepare his order, and Gabriel took in the space around him. For the first time, he noticed the details. The photo, wall of customers, the children's drawings pinned up, the soft music playing in the background. There was life here, something he hadn't felt in a long time. When Clara returned, they sat briefly at an empty table. He didn't say much, but she didn't push. She just talked about the day, the weather, the quirky customers who came by. Now and then, slowly, Gabriel started to relax. "How long have you been on the streets?" she asked gently, without judgment. He took a moment to answer. "About 2 years," he said, staring at his cup. "But sometimes it feels like it was just yesterday. Other times it feels like it's been my whole life. Do you have family?" He looked at her, his eyes losing focus for a second. "I did." Then he corrected himself. "I do. Somewhere." She respected the silence that followed. She knew there was more to his story, but she could tell he wasn't ready to share it yet, and that was okay. A few days later, Gabriel started showing up regularly. Sometimes he'd just stop by for a coffee and a buttered roll. Other times, he'd help Clara carry boxes or wash trays. He never asked for anything, and he always said thank you. One evening, Clara stepped out of the bakery and found him sitting on the sidewalk, staring at the sky. She sat down beside him. "You know what I miss the most?" he asked, without her saying a word. "What?" "Silence." She laughed, not quite understanding. "But it's quiet now." "Not that kind of silence," he explained. "The kind inside. The kind where you lay your head on the pillow and don't have to fight your own mind." Clara understood. "I struggle with my thoughts too," she said, looking straight ahead. "Sometimes my head feels like a train station. So many cars passing through and none of them stop." Gabriel looked at her, surprised. For the first time, it felt like someone was speaking a language he understood. "What brought you here?" she asked. He hesitated. "A choice. A bad one. And then a string of them. Like once you break something inside yourself, it gets easier to let the rest fall apart too." She stayed quiet for a while. "Have you ever thought about starting over?" He let out a bitter laugh. "Starting over is easy when you have somewhere to go back to. I left everything behind." Clara looked at him with intensity. "Sometimes we don't need to go back. We just need to keep moving forward." Meanwhile, across town, in a tall glass and steel building, a meeting was in full swing. A grey-haired executive spoke with a worried tone. "Mr. Gabriel hasn't responded in weeks. The stocks are frozen. Projects are stalled. We need a decision." The room was filled with suited men, their faces tense. No one there knew where the heir to the Faraz family fortune had disappeared to. Officially, he was on a sabbatical retreat. Unofficially, missing. An assistant knocked on the door, holding an envelope. "Sorry to interrupt, gentlemen. We just received some news." The envelope contained a photo. In it, Gabriel, clean-shaven in simple clothes, stood next to a young woman in an apron, smiling, inside a neighborhood bakery. The executives exchanged glances. "What's he doing there?" "He looks happy," one of the partners said. "Surprised. He needs to come back. Soon." Back at the bakery, Clara started noticing little things. Gabriel had refined gestures, an articulate way of speaking, even when he tried to hide it. He knew about wines, art, politics. He could name authors she had only seen in bookstore windows. "You've had another life, haven't you?" she asked one day. He didn't answer, but his silence spoke volumes. That same night, as she closed the cash register, Clara found an envelope in the drawer. No name. Inside there was money, far more than he could have had. She ran outside, but he was already gone. It was Gabriel. She was sure of it. The next morning, Clara arrived at the bakery. Before dawn. She hadn't slept well. The envelope, the amount of money, and Gabriel's sudden disappearance kept circling her mind. As soon as she opened the door, he was there, sitting on a bench across the street, hands in his pockets, eyes downcast. She walked over. "Do you think money buys silence?" she asked. Firmly, not angry, but with hurt in her voice. Gabriel looked up slowly. There was exhaustion in his eyes, but also guilt. "I just wanted to help." "Helping isn't the same as hiding," she said. "Who are you, really?" He sighed, staring at the ground for a few seconds before answering. I'm Someone who tried to run from himself and thought that if I lost everything, I'd lose the pain too. Clara crossed her arms, waiting. He looked at her. I am, or was, the heir to one of the biggest financial holdings in the country. Clara didn't know what to say. Her mind went blank. It felt like one of those late-night movies, too improbable to be real. "And why were you living on the streets?" she asked, her voice a whisper. "Because after my mom died, I lost my footing. My dad wanted me to take over the business. I didn't want to. The pressure was suffocating. One day I just left. Out of the blue, I left everything. No phone, no money, nothing. Just the clothes on my back." He looked at his hands, as if tracing his story in the lines of his skin. No, one understood. They said I was sick, crazy, immature, but what I felt was emptiness. I needed to know who I was without all of that. To find out if my life had value without the brand, the power, the name. Clara sat beside him, quiet. The morning breeze blew softly, but it felt like time had frozen. "And did you find out?" she asked genuinely. Gabriel looked at her for a long moment. Then he smiled, a sad smile. "I'm still trying." Across town, things were heating up at the Ferraz group. The security team had tracked Gabriel's movements, and the decision was unanimous. Bring him back, with or without his consent. 2 men were dispatched. A black car parked discreetly. "A few blocks from the bakery, low-key, no scene. We grab him, talk, and bring him back," one of the guards said. But they had no idea what awaited them. Back at the bakery. That afternoon, Clara closed the bakery early. She invited Gabriel up to her small apartment in the back. It was modest but cozy. They sat on the balcony, 2 mugs of tea between them. "When you first came here, I saw you broken," she said. "But now, I don't know if what I see is the real you, or just another version of you." Gabriel looked down. "I've been honest with you, even when I was lying." He let out a nervous laugh. "Because every day here taught me more than all my years at the top." Clara looked at him, her eyes welling up. "Why me?" she asked. "Why did you show up in my life?" He looked at her deeply. "Because you didn't see me as a problem. You saw me as a person. And that was the first time in a long time that someone gave me that." Her heart sank at his words, and she felt afraid. But what happens now? Before Gabriel could answer, they heard footsteps on the stairs. 3 knocks at the door. He froze. Clara opened it. 2 men in suits stood there. "Mr. Gabriel, we're here to take you back." Clara looked at him, shocked. Gabriel seemed like a statue. "No!" she said, stepping in front of him. "You can't take him by force." "We're not here to hurt anyone," one of the men said. "We just need him to come with us. His family is worried. There are legal matters, loose ends." Gabriel stood slowly. "It's okay, Clara." "No," she repeated. "You can't disappear again." He took her hand. "I'll be back." And then he left. She ran to the balcony and watched him get into the car. Through the window, he looked back and smiled, but it was a sad smile. The kind from someone who knows they might not return. The black car sped through the avenues of Gabriel sat in the back, silent, watching the city lights pass by like traces of a past he no longer wanted. Their destination was a mansion, in Jardins, surrounded by high walls and electronic security. When they arrived, an elegant woman waited at the entrance. It was Helena, his older sister. "Gabriel, do you have any idea of the chaos you've caused?" Dad nearly lost it. He stepped out of the car without responding. Tired eyes, unshaven. "Simple clothes, like an outsider in a place where he once belonged. We've been trying to protect the family name. And you disappear for 2 years, show up at some random bakery and live, Helena," he cut in firmly. "For the first time in years I lived." She fell silent. Inside, their father was waiting. Jorge Almeida, grey hair, sharp gaze. "A man who mistook control for love. So you've decided to grace us with your presence?" he said, his tone dripping with sarcasm. Gabriel sat down. I didn't come to apologize. I came because you found me, but I need to say what I've been holding in for too long. I don't need to hear speeches. You do. You need to. Understand that I wasn't born to inherit an empty empire. I don't fit that mold, and I'm done trying to. His father stayed silent. I met a woman, Clara. She gave me back my humanity. She showed me that love isn't something you buy, it's something you build. Jorge let out a dry laugh. A baker, an incredible woman. And I'm going back to her. His father stood irritated. You're about to take over as president of the group. You're going to throw that away for a romantic whim? Gabriel stood too. I'd rather lose the fortune than lose the chance to be who I really am. He left the room, leaving a heavy silence behind. That night, he slept in his old room, but he already knew this wasn't his place anymore. Meanwhile, at the bakery, Clara tried to stick to her routine. She served customers, baked bread, but something in her was missing. Gabriel's absence hurt more than she wanted to admit. The TV in the corner of the shop played a news segment. Ferraz Group announces the return of its missing heir. A photo of a younger Gabriel appeared on the screen. Her heart tightened. So that's it. But little did she know he was already on his way back. Days later, Gabriel returned. Simple clothes, backpack on his shoulders. He walked into the bakery like someone coming home. Clara saw him and froze. The world seemed to hush for a second. I thought you wouldn't come back, she said. I promised. She didn't reply, but her eyes said everything. He stepped closer. I chose you, Clara. Not the money, not the title. You. She touched his face, as if making sure he was real. Then she hugged him. For a moment, time didn't matter. Years later, the bakery had grown. It became a small local chain. But with a big heart, Gabriel taught finance classes to at-risk youth. Clara ran community food programs. They had a daughter, Sophia. On the wall of the new shop, a hand-painted sign read, "It doesn't matter where you came from, it matters where you choose to go." And every time a new customer walked through the Dugar, Clara and Gabriel knew this story wasn't about wealth. It was about choices. It was about love. It was about new beginnings.